Welcome to the From Concealment Podcast, the show for firearm enthusiasts who like to shoot, train, carry, and compete. Get ready for some shooting and sight, firearm and accessory reviews, and of course, insight on conceal carry. And now, broadcasting from behind enemy lines in the From Concealment studio, it's Pete Mitchell and Dan Sams.
Hey, Freedom Nation, this is Pete Mitchell.
And I'm Dan Sams.
And this episode's being brought to you by Fast OC. As I've mentioned before on the podcast, if you are thinking about getting into any kind of handgun challenges, or if you just need to take some additional courses and you're in Orange County, California, head on over to fastoc.com, look them up on the old internet there, and sign up for one of their courses. I am regularly at their handgun challenges, and I take courses from them all the time. It is good times had by all. So again, head on over to fastoc.com. So Dan, what's new in your life?
Oh man, I'm kind of a sucker for Christmas time, and so I am officially drinking eggnog and looking at Christmas lights, and so that's my life right now, man. We are just enjoying the Christmas season, even though it's, I don't know, we're only like a week and a half into November. So
see what I love is there's a great meme. It's like, we're not skipping Thanksgiving, October 1st through October 31st, Halloween. November 1st through November 27th, Christmas. November 28th, Thanksgiving. November 29th through January 6th, Christmas. So it was pretty funny.
It's true. Like, part of it was just practicality for like the best time for us to decorate. So we ended up decorating last night. And I have to say that knowing that Thanksgiving is like 2 weeks away still, it made my heart a little sad to be putting away the fall decorations. So it's almost like this might be a little bit wrong. But I'm excited that Christmas stuff is up.
That's funny.
It's good times, man.
Yeah.
Excited to be drinking eggnog.
I wouldn't know, man. I don't get to drink eggnog. Not on the diet that I'm on.
Oh yeah. Oh, I'm sorry,
I have not
man.
had a beer since like, I don't know, March. Gotta be. I know.
Oh man. How do you drive? I'm just kidding. That was a terrible joke.
Actually, much better now. It's surprising.
I think of all the things that if I've had a beer, I just seem better at, and I'm like, well, I've never tried it driving, but I think I would actually be better at driving. I just probably shouldn't joke about that at all.
That's funny. Yeah. No, I don't get to have the good stuff. Not for a while anyway. I'll eventually. But I'm trying to get down to where I can appendix carry, so I still got a ways to go, man. I mean,
I'll tell you what, you've lost a lot, man. I can see in the Facebook pictures, man.
I'm a third of the man I used to be. Well, no, I'm 2/3 of the man I used to be.
There you go.
There we go.
That's pretty awesome, man.
Yeah.
I'm excited for you.
Hey, cool. Can't complain. That's I mean, honestly, that's the reason why I keep going. Because come on, I mean. It's like you start seeing those kind of results. I'm not going to go out there and have my eggnog. I mean, one day a week I get to have whatever I want, right? So my free days, we like to call it. But that's that's only one day during the week. So
yeah,
such is life.
Good for you, man. No, that's awesome. If I was seeing those kind of results, I'd be doing the same thing. Yeah.
But a guy like you doesn't need those kind of results. So
yeah, it's a weird thing. I've actually, for most of my life, have been trying to go the other way, where I was so scrawny. And about the time I hit 35, I started to retain some of the weight. Like, I used to go to the gym and say, like, I'm going to try to make it to 155 pounds. And I would lift and whatever, and I would be like really excited to like break 155. And now I'm like, I haven't worked out in like years. I stepped onto a scale and I'm like, I beat the goal without putting muscle on. So maybe I should rethink some of my decisions. So, because I'm afraid this will get away from me.
My buddy Wayne, who does my personal training and sets me up on everything. I mean, he was in the same situation when he was high school, college age. He was like, hey, I just thought I was a hard gainer, because he wanted to gain muscle like everyone else. What he just didn't know was that it's all about literally what you eat. And so like today, I mean, he's got no problem gaining as much muscle as he wants because he understands how to eat to gain muscle. So,
Yeah.
There's a difference. And, I look back on my college days and I kick myself. If I would have known then what I know today, imagine what could have been. Imagine.
Yeah.
But, such is the way it goes. Hey, real quick, man, I got to tell you, I did a handgun challenge, I don't know, a week or two ago. I think it was 2 weeks ago. And took first place, man. I mean,
hey, way to go, man!
I know it wasn't against the Fast OC guys. Let me be clear; those guys, I'm still. If I make top 50% with them, I'm happy. So this was not those guys, but this was another group that I will do all their competitions as well. I'm always like, if I'm not in the top 3, then I really screwed up that day, and. And it came down. I can't remember exactly what I beat the top guy out by, but it was like, maybe a point, if that. So, I mean, it was close. It was close. But
way to go, man! That's just awesome.
I'll tell you, I love it. It's fun. It's fun. I mean, it's definitely something I would encourage everyone to do, just because of the challenge. Everyone thinks they're the hot shot, but until you actually, pull it out and do it in a real competition, it's just all in your head. So take the challenge and see how good you really are.
It's good stuff, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. I need to do some fast training. I'm fast. I practice my quick draw, pulling from concealment. I do some of that. And then I do some, target shooting to just kind of make sure that I'm on at a greater distance.
Sure.
But I've never done, I shouldn't say never. It's been a while since I've, done anything like what you're doing, where you're going through the motions and doing a full on racing and timed and everything. I need to do some more of that. It's
just fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, there's actually, a practical application to it all, no doubt. But the bottom line is, it's just fun. So that's the reason why I do it. I want to see how fast and accurate I can be. And like I said, I mean, there's some guys, like when you do it with the Fast OC guys, I mean, they're at the top of the game. So, cracking the top 50%, I'm feeling pretty good. When I'm going against these other guys, like if I'm not in the top 3, then I'm feeling pretty bad. The number 1 guy is fast. We just call him the kid, right? Because he's like, I don't know, 22, if that. And he's fast and accurate. I mean, he's good. He's really good. In fact, I keep telling him, like, man, you got to go against the Fast OC guys. That'll really tell you how good you are. Because against all of us, sure, you're beating us, but go against real shooters. And we'll see how that really turns out for you. That's how you get better. You got to go against guys who are better than you. So
nice.
Yeah.
Well, the closest thing I have to that is last week, since we were off from recording, had a buddy of mine came over and we spent 3 hours at my range. And I've got some stuff set up at 100 yards for plinking with my AR and my 1022. And then what I'll do is we'll just, since it's our range, nobody else is there, we'll take the pistols and we'll walk up to, 15 yards and do some shooting with the pistols. So I've got these about 2.5 inch by 3.5 inch steel plates. They're pretty small, and they're designed for me to, with the 1022 to plink at from 100 yards. But you get up to 15 yards or whatever, and there's a little bit of challenge trying to hit him just right with the pistol. So he comes out, he hasn't shot in a while. He hands me his Walther, and now I'm a Walther man. I love Walther. I love the way they fit in my hands. He's got a big flashlight on it because it's his home defense gun. And he's like, see what you can do with this, man. Well, the flashlight throws me off. I'm not used to it being on there. I'm not used to shooting that gun anyway, but it's a Walther, so it fits in my hand just right. I pull that thing up there, man, and with this 9mm, I probably at 15 yards, might have been a little bit more, I don't know. I'm spinning those 2.5 inch targets like crazy. And it was feeling really good. I'm like, man, this is why I love Walther, because they just fit me. I hit what I want to with those. Right. And so he's blown away. He's like, oh my gosh. And I'm like, it's because it's a Walther, man. He puts the Glock in my hand, and it was kind of pitiful. I was not doing so awesome with the Glock. But that was my closest thing to a win of anything, is my buddy coming by.
It's funny. It always comes back to, what do you normally shoot with? I got a buddy who's a big CZ guy. And so we talk about it all the time. I'm a Glock guy. He's a CZ guy. And I'm like, dude, you just got to run with what you're good at. I mean, if that's what you carry and shoot with all the time, then be cool with it. I mean, go for it.
Well, I think if you try out, we could almost do a video on this. If you shoot something in the Walther category, shoot something in the CZ realm, shoot a Glock, figure out what kind of naturally fits you well. And I know there's a lot more out there. You get your Kel-Tec or whatever, but figure out what naturally
Come on, Kel-Tec doesn't naturally fit anybody. It's just a fun gun.
That is probably the right way to look at that. I've had a couple. They're kind of a targeting 22 is the weirdest feeling gun I have ever. It's cool looking, but it's just strange. But man, Walther fit me, and it just works, and I'm on every time. And every time I'm like, oh, I like this Glock, and it's a good gun. I just never do as well as I do with my Walthers, and I think that's. I mean, some of that is because it just naturally seems to fit, and some of it, as you say, it's because it's what I like and it's what I shoot a lot, and so I'm good at it, or as good as I am at it, I guess.
Right.
I'm better at it than other things.
Yeah. No, I decided this last weekend I was going to take my since I mostly am competing. I mean, that's what I shoot more than anything else, or training. I'm usually shooting either my Glock 34 or my 17. And I just felt like I hadn't taken my Glock 43 or my 26 out in, I don't know, 8 months, 9 months. And I was like, you know what? I carry these. I'm going to go shoot on them, right? I'm just going to, get some time on them, make sure that everything's still, feeling as good as it used to, if you will. And I tell you, man, that Glock 43, it's snappy. I mean, it's snappy. Yeah. It's so funny to me because I'm like, it feels like a Glock, but there's way more snap on that than the Glock 26. Mm-hmm. And I mean, push comes to shove, I prefer the 26 because it's the double stack, and I'm mostly shooting the 17 and the 34. So the 26 just fits really, really nice. But so I was shooting those, and then I decided I was going to take that Ruger PCC in 9mm out. And I'm telling you, man, I think I have a new favorite rifle. I really do. Oh, yeah. Because
that's that PC9, that's the takedown kind of version.
Correct. Exactly. Just like the 1022. Yeah. And I got a Trijicon RMR on it.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I was just, just plinking around with it, just having fun. And I'm like, man, it doesn't matter where that target is. I am just so tight in my groupings. I'm like, I freaking love this thing. And it's just, it doesn't have the recoil of the AR. And so I did buy a muzzle brake for it, which, I'll probably get sometime this week, and I'll stick it on. And because I want to see if I can even reduce the recoil even that much more. And, but it's a freaking fun gun to shoot. In fact, I think it's going to tie in nicely with our topic today, which is, top bug out guns, top 5 bug out guns. Well, I don't know if it's going to be 5, but top bug out guns.
Yeah.
And
I'm going to tell you that was already on my list. So yeah.
The 1022 or the PCC?
I was going to say the PC, the 1022 also. We'll talk about that in a second. But I feel like what you've got is that 9mm version of it. And to be able to have a little bit more takedown power, a little bit more stopping power, a little bit more, you can do with that thing, that you've got something special there, man. And still small.
And see, the reason why I really like it is because it takes the Glock mags. And since I'm always shooting Glocks, I mean, right now in my car, in my door, I keep an extra, I want to say 4 Glock mags, one 1911 mag, and a Glock 43 mag. And so, and I think 2 of them are 21 rounders. And, I always like to have extra ammo. I figure that's the one thing you're always going to want more of is more ammo. So I leave those just right there in my car door. Just, if I ever need it, just grab it and go. But that's the thing that I love about that Ruger PCC is, okay, I know I'm always carrying my Glock. I know I'm always carrying Glock mags. Yep. If I needed it, I got it right there. Yeah. I could just take that Glock mag and throw it in there. And that's what I was doing with my my Glock 26 mags, because really it's probably the most pointless mag I got because it only fits the 26. And most of the time I'm just, shooting a 17 mag in the 26. And but they fit, right? They fit the PCC. So I'm like, all right, cool. I get a little, 10 to 11 round magazines here for the PCC.
Well, it's cowboy style, and this is my theory. This is one of my theories. When we start talking about bugging out, the closest historical example we have in the U.S., I think, is the American West cowboy, right? Who was out on the range, living off very little that they're carrying. Of course, they're carrying it on a horse, but they tended to have, if they had a rifle, it was probably chambered in the same caliber as their sidearm. Right. And so, it was going to be 45 long, probably most of the time. But man, I think there's something to that you always have ammo. You have it for two different kind of guns. You fulfill two needs. And I think especially when you can share the same mags, that Ruger PC9, man, to me, that is first thing on our list of bug out guns. That you carry a Glock as your sidearm. Man, what can you not do with that? Like, you could take down a mid-size animal if you needed to. You can defend a position with that. I don't know what the range is on that, what the drop is, but surely you could be doing decent protection from at least 100 yards.
At least, yeah, absolutely.
I would say easily at 100 yards. I would not be surprised if you're doing some decent stuff out at 200. I don't know the specs on all that, but I'll bet you could do a lot out to about 200 yards, which, hey, for bugging out, that's pretty good, man.
Yeah. What would you say would be your number one bug out?
So I'm not going to say this is my number one. This is my next one I want to mention is what I have now. And I'm not necessarily going to change my setup, but I've got my Ruger 1022, man. It allows me to carry well over 1,000 rounds of ammo.
Yep.
And then I carry, now this might sound crazy to everybody else, but for my bug out scenario, I have all 9mm, all 22 long rifle in pistols that I can distribute throughout my family.
Nice.
So we can, if we need to, we can get suppressors, keep the thing quiet-ish, because I can effectively get that 22 quiet.
Right.
All the same ammo shared between them, and I can do some pretty decent stuff. A 22 long rifle will stay lethal over 300 yards. Now, I'm not going to be zeroed in perfect at 300 yards, but I can still be hitting a man-sized target with some work at 300 yards. And if I need to defend a position, I can do that. If I need to do some small to even mid-sized game hunting, I can do that. My grandma used to kill deer with a 22 long rifle. So there's a lot I can do with that. I will not defend and say that it is the best thing. It's what's fitting my family's philosophy right now, because even my 8-year-old can shoot the 22 easily.
Right.
And so that's what I've got right now. So that's what I'm excited about, and really almost the same concept of what you got going on with the PC9, just in a little bit smaller, or a lot smaller caliber.
Well, what's funny is I got my son a 22 bolt action rifle because I wanted him to learn on that. I didn't want him to get carried away with the semi-automatic and just start pulling the trigger. I wanted him to actually learn, and I really, really like it. In fact, I got the. I can't remember. I think it's like Agency Arms. They make the 22 upper for your Glock. And so I got that as well. So I could, if I wanted to, shoot 22 out my Glock. And, because here in California, we can't buy anything on the secondary market without going through a dealer.
Right.
I just don't feel like doing that. So instead, I bought the upper and can put it on the my Glock 17 and shoot 22 right out of it. And let's face it, you can't beat the price of shooting a 22.
No, yeah,
you just can't. I wouldn't use it for anything other than just having fun at the range. My Glock with the 22 upper on it, and the reason is there's too many jams that happen. It doesn't feed the same as a gun that was built to be a 22.
Exactly.
Without a doubt. I think the 22 is a great bug out gun because of the ammo situation. I'm a big believer and have as much ammo as you can, because no one's ever said in an emergency, gosh, we had too much ammo than we needed. No.
Yeah.
It's always like, I needed more ammo. So you can do a lot more with 22 than you can with anything else.
Well, and when I can take I can take a Gatorade bottle, emptied out, clean it out, put probably 500 rounds in that thing, and one of those little silica packets to keep things dry. Tighten that thing down. I have a watertight, easy to carry 500 rounds, right?
Yep.
I get 2 of those. I can slide them in my bag where I would normally have a water bottle, because who needs water when you have ammo? And I can carry enough for my family, right? Yep. And I can probably do the same thing for each of my kids and my wife. And here's the Sam's family rocking around, a few thousand rounds of ammo, all of us carrying. We could do what we need to do with that. And one thing I would tell anybody who's thinking about doing this, a lot of times you think bug out, you think, okay, I'm going to stockpile ammo. And so you buy a lot cheap. And one of the things I'll say is, we're talking about 22. It's worth getting better ammo. You're already not spending that much. So buy 1,000 rounds of some CCI, or maybe some Aguila is actually really cheap, but it still makes a really good round. Invest in a little bit better ammo, because what you don't want is something that's not cycling well, or really crappy ammo. You want good ammo if you're bugging out. And I would say fiddle around with what goes well through your gun. My Ruger 10/22 will chew up anything, but just facing facts, there are some things that just cycle better. And if I'm going to be bugging out, I want stuff that I know is going to cycle well. And so I've been using Aguila, and it's actually crazy cheap, but it's really great ammo.
Right.
And of course CCI, man, I've never failed me on that. So those are a couple of my favorite. I've got one that I don't know if you're familiar with this, and so I'm going to throw this out just kind of so we jump outside of the smaller calibers. I'm going to suggest, and it doesn't have to be a Ruger, but I'm going to suggest a Scout rifle as a really great bug-out gun. You familiar with these at all?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, of course, Ruger makes them. We're not trying to just do a big Ruger commercial. There's other companies that make Scout rifles. But I had a buddy of mine got really into Scout rifles, and maybe 3 or 4 years ago bought his first one, and he loves it. So his is chambered in 308. And he's like, listen, there's always going to be 308 running around. He's like, so in a bug out scenario, I'm probably going to be able to find ammo. And I would actually say he might have a little bit easier time with a 5.56, but still, he's got a huge caliber in that. Right. And he's like, and he's got he says, I can do it with open sights, where he actually put one of those scopes on it that only has like a 3 times magnification. He's like, so I can do close range, long range. He's like, I can do what I need to do even pretty far out with that. He's like, I got to be practiced up. But it's a relatively short barrel. It's bolt action, but it has a magazine on it. So he's like, if I need to move a little bit faster, I can. It's pretty cool, and I'm starting to see the value of it. You're spending a little bit more, but they look cool. There's not a lot to go wrong. I mean, for crying out loud, it's bolt action. There's something to be said for those as a bug out gun. Right. And I would think about, this is what I tried to talk him into. He went a different direction. But I would think about getting one in a 5.56 or something that will take, like regular AR mags. And then, bug out with your buddies, and if you've got one buddy that's got an AR and you're rocking this, you can share mags, and everybody's happy. So
see, that's what I'm more of a believer in that. I mean, the only problem that I have with the 308 is the weight, man. I mean, you're very limited on how much ammo you can carry around. Now, I mean, granted, if this is just like, he's thinking, hey, maybe my whole time I'm going to be shooting 10 rounds a week kind of a thing, maybe you can get away with it. But I'm always thinking worst case scenario, which is I want to have as much ammo on me as possible. And that is the reason why, for me, I would be more along the lines of you. I would go with the 5.56 or 223. Either's going to do the trick. Just because I would want to keep the weight down. The 308, I mean, that starts to get really freaking heavy, man. It really is. Well,
the other thing is, the bigger the round, it's not just about the weight. There's a reason why, because 22 is so small, I can shake so many of them together in a little Gatorade bottle. Right. But you start talking about a 308, there's not a real easy way to even pack that in nice and neat and tight. And so there's a space issue as well as a weight issue. And so, yeah, I am similar. And that's another reason why we could probably have a whole conversation on 223 as a bug out round, because it's still easy to find. To me, I think you hit on a big thing right there. Like, if you're with buddies, like, why does the military all use the same round when they're going out on a mission? It's not like they let one guy, carry around a 308 and the next guy's got a 300 blackout. The next guy's got 5.56. It's like they're all going to be carrying 5.56. And the reason is for that very thing. Hey, I need a magazine. Here you go. Boom. Throw it over to him. And now he's back in the fight, because it's going to cost you way more ammo and time and energy to save your buddy who ran out of ammo than it is just to go, here's a magazine, and they're good to go. You're exactly right. So yeah, when that comes into a larger conversation that really isn't the main point of our conversation, but it's bugging out together. It's having a plan. It's having a group that's going together, and you've got a structured plan. Also makes you harder to mess with. It doesn't matter if it's 4 guys or 3 guys. People don't want to hassle you as much if there's more than one of you. But one guy, it looks like an easy way to get some MREs.
One guy with the family, they're thinking, okay, you got the wife and kids, we can go take them. Yeah.
Yeah. Of course, maybe that's going to be my ploy, man. It's like, see what happens, man. My wife's gangster. She won't mess with you. But you're exactly right. My plan is still to rally up with, I've got several friends that we've got a rendezvous point. Something goes down. We've got a place to go.
That's so funny, man. I got to move out to Ohio. I don't know why I'm living where I live.
Well, we have 2 different conversations. One is hypothetical zombie apocalypse. What would we do? Right. Which is mostly for fun. And then we have, some other kind of either grid down or bad scenario, without going into detail, what we would do. And they're very similar, but there's a little bit different structure to them. But either way, I mean, we have the issue up here. I don't know. There's a guy that teaches wilderness survival, Creek Stewart. I'll recommend him. And his whole thing is, it's not an if, it's a when. He's like, people talk like you're crazy when you do any kind of prepping, but he's like, Katrina happened.
Right.
He's like, you remember Hurricane Katrina? What we had was a grid down scenario where we couldn't get food in or out. People were hurting each other. It was dangerous. And he's like, I'm talking about that stuff always happens. So you need to be ready for that. Put aside all the tinfoil hat conspiracy stuff. You need to be ready for those things that we know happen.
Right.
And, you don't want to be in danger. You don't want to put your family in danger. You want to make sure you have a means of defending yourself and feeding yourself, which we could get into a whole thing of like what you should have for that. That's not the focus of our show, but having some food and some food you can carry on your back and the means to cook it and some ammo puts you in a pretty good spot. So,
it's funny. My wife thinks I'm crazy because I literally have my bug out bag, and I have a backpack that it was the base of the backpack was built out, and it just didn't have everything else that I wanted in it. So I added the things that were important to me that I was like, okay, I need this. And it's only got 3 days worth of emergency calories, basically, and 3 days of emergency water. But I'm like, but I got it. It's always in my car because my car is pretty much going to be where I am.
Yep.
So that's why I keep it in my car. And then when we go on vacation, we usually don't take my car. We take my wife's car, and she thinks I'm crazy because I've moved the backpack over. I'm like, well, I'm still taking it. I'm taking it. That's what it's there for.
I do the same thing. Yeah. I do the same thing. I have a really minor bug out bag that I keep in a car. And then I have a more substantial one that's like if I really need to go somewhere. But I have the basic one that's I guess you could call it a get home bag. And then I have a bug out bag. But 3 days is what you need to plan for, man, because 3 days allows you to get to an alternate location in some parts.
Scenarios. Like, here's the thing, man. When you are in where I live in California, now there's a lot of rural areas in California. California is really big, but I live in the city. And as we like to say, you're not going to be bugging out, you're going to be bugging in. Like you need to prepare to, you're not going to be able to get anywhere because you can barely get anywhere now when there is, no emergency going on. But you're not going to be able to bug out. So you need to be prepared for basically, how do I bug in? How do I stay here in my house as safe as possible and have the resources, both food, firepower, all of those, water, all of those emergencies. How am I going to be able to take care of myself here? Because I'm not going to be able to leave. Like I'm just not. I'm stuck. I'm stuck in the city. And so you got to look at your unique situation. If you're in like a Dan Sam's type world where it's like, look, I can bug out and go somewhere, then you got to have those plans. But if you're in a scenario where you're in the city like me, it's like, okay, if I got to bug in, how am I going to do it? What's going to be my game plan? And you got to think that through.
Yep. No. Well, and you know what? One thing as we're on this topic, I know we're jumping to some side things, but hopefully this will be helpful for everybody. Get yourself a copy of the SAS Survival Handbook by Shifty or Lofty Wiseman, not Shifty. Lofty Wiseman is the author. Highly recommend that and throw that in your bug out bag. It's a little bit more weight, but it is pretty much every climate in the world, how to survive in it. It's got color pictures of plants you can eat and what not to eat, basics on how to build a shelter, how to fish, how to do this and that. Really, really handy guide. I recommend get it, read it, keep it as a reference, put it in your bug out bag, because there's even stuff for some urban survival in there. And you'd be surprised how many of the survival guides actually take into account urban environments like yours.
Really?
Because it happens where you can't get anywhere,
right?
Because everything's jammed, cars get abandoned on the road. You really can get landlocked really quick, and so being able to figure out how can I survive here, and one
of the very real scenarios, like the government knows it's a real. It's not just a real; it's a more than likely scenario, and that's an EMP going off. Yeah. And you got an EMP going off over pretty much anywhere in the United States, and you're screwed. Yeah. No car is going to work. No water is going to flow. Nothing is going to work because everything uses electronics. 100% of everything is using electronics nowadays. So, I mean, imagine an EMP goes off. There's not a, let's just say it's an EMP in the atmosphere. So, nuke goes off in the atmosphere. So we don't have the radiation. It doesn't matter. You can't move anything. Like, how are you going to get those cars off the freeway? You're not. Like, we got too many overpasses here. That's going to be the bottleneck. Nothing is going to move. And unless you're going to hike out, I mean, for us to hike out of Southern California means we're hiking through the desert. What are we, back in the cowboy days? We're dead. Like, we're dead. This is the Oregon Trail. You better have a plan for being in the city, in a desert, knowing you can't leave. What's your game plan?
Well, and at the very least, buy a couple of extra bags of black beans and rice. It's easy to store. You can store a lot of it. And you could live for a long time off rice and beans. And so I tell everybody, like, that doesn't cost you that much. Like, just every time you go grocery shopping, get one more bag of rice, one more bag of beans. Wouldn't be a comfortable, way to stay alive, but it would keep you alive. I mean, you wouldn't take much to live off a month on rice and beans. And so some of that kind of stuff where I'm like, just plan for a little extra.
Right.
And helps you out, man. So should we mention 2 more guns to get us to our 5 guns?
Yeah, absolutely, man. Go for it. Sorry, we got off on our sidetrack there.
No, but this is a good sidetrack. 2 more I'm gonna say this cautiously. I actually think we've nailed 3 really great bug out rifles, and we haven't even talked about pistols because there's a whole philosophy of using bug out pistols. But I think it's worth noting. There is something to be said for bugging out with an AK or an AR. Yep. And I think we could add those to the list and give them the nod. But you should know what you're doing with both of those. With an AR, you want something that you can, fold up that stock or, adjustable stock that you can pack up.
Do all the crap you can't do here in California.
Exactly. And this is going to be my next thing. It might mean that for the person in California, that might not be your best bet, because you want something that's small, that's easy to carry.
Well, here's the thing I would say in California, because you're right? So for those of you who aren't aware, in California, we got some just jacked up laws, and we have to have either a featureless AR or AK for that matter, or if it has features, and features means an adjustable stock, a flash hider. Those are the two main ones, and basically a detachable magazine, meaning a typical AR where you just hit the button and a magazine drops out. That's called features. So if you have those things, then you can't have a pistol grip. Well, technically, if you have a flash hider, if you have an adjustable stock, you can't have a magazine that drops out. You have to break the action. So what I would suggest is whatever you decide to do, if you decide to go featureless in California, or keep your features but have a fixed magazine is what it's called, have the kit ready that you can switch it out. Because let's face it, things go down, the last thing you're going to be worried about is my gun California compliant? Yeah. So, like for me personally, mostly what I've got is a featureless. I mean, I've got both, but mostly what I run is a featureless AR. And I personally prefer my muzzle brake over a flash hider. So while it would suck at night, you're going to see that fire coming out a good 3-4 feet off the end of my muzzle. The difference is I have better control over that thing. I mean, I really do, because it's a muzzle brake as opposed to a flash hider. I have my stock pinned, but it's pinned right where I want it, so it's not a big deal. If it hit the fan, I could easily bump out the pin. Now I've got an adjustable stock. Honestly, I don't really care about having the pistol grip. I'm just fine without it, but literally switching out my grip is not a big deal. I mean, it would literally take me minutes, and next thing you know, I'm good to go. So I would just say have your kit ready for whatever you need to do to make adjustments to your firearm.
And with that, and this is the one thing about an AR, is that you're going to need to be able to do some repairs and maintenance on an AR. Yeah. And so I do think that people worry too much. A mil-spec AR does pretty well. I mean, it really does. They hold up all right. But admittedly, there's more to go wrong than with a Kalashnikov. And so be ready for that. You know, you're probably going to need a little bit of lubricant that you're going to carry around for it. Or maybe not. Maybe you just go with alternate ways of keeping it moving. Just be ready to do some of the basic stuff. But the nice thing about an AR, breaks down, fairly easy to get to, even in the field. There's a lot you can do with.
Practice and of course, breaking it down with your bullet too. I mean, that's how it was designed. So practice with the bullet, and know how to do it properly. Yeah,
makes it you can do just so much. But be ready for field care for really any rifle you have, but especially if you're going to go the AR route. And I actually would take the AR over the AK just because of my experience with it. But definitely an AK, man, you could get a relatively short barrel AK, obviously a legal one, unless you've got other means there. But man, an AK is just going to keep going bang. I tell everybody I have a Kalashnikov that my grandfather had that we shot together when I was 15. He put it in his gun case, and I'm not sure he shot it anymore. I am pretty certain he never cleaned it. I don't think he cleaned it once in the entire time we had it. As he aged, he wasn't using it, wasn't cleaning it. I didn't shoot it again until the day of his funeral, which would have been 20 years later. And it fired like a charm that very day. So, man, they really do hold up. Most of the legendary stories about them are true. You're not going to have as much, zero-in ability as you can on an AR. I think some of that's just because of the recoil and how it all functions. But, man, great gun. If you're willing to deal with a little bit more weight, an AK is still a pretty good bug-out gun. So those are my picks, man. Those are my picks.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. I really like it. Hey, why don't you sign us off with our final sponsor?
Yeah, so speaking of ARs, AKs, scout rifles, Ruger PC9s, and AR 1022, Ruger 1022s, you can get all that at Lake Erie Arms. So we are coming up on our massive Black Friday sale, and so go to learms.net, check out all the free downloads we've got on there, stuff you can sign up for. You get all kinds of great stuff. It doesn't cost you a dime, but if you are up here in Northeast Ohio, come on out, especially for Black Friday weekend, and have some fun. Get some guns, save some money, and get ready for whatever bug out scenario, hunting scenario, target scenario you've got in mind. Either way, check out learms.net, and we'll see you soon.
Cool. All right, guys, we'll be back next week with another great episode. Take care, everybody.
Take care.
You've been listening to the From Concealment Podcast with Pete Mitchell and Dan Sams. Be sure to tune in next week for more gun talk. Also, check out the From Concealment website for more shooting-related goodness at FromConcealment.com.